Good evening. Welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke. And tonight we're going to have a conversation with the president of the National Foundation of Women Legislators. If you think about it, women are going to be coming out in record numbers to run in 2018. And Eleanor Roosevelt would be thinking today if she was alive, because she used to say, for any one of women that run for office, they have to have the skin of a rhinoceros. Well, it's changed, and we're going to see a big difference in the polls in 2018, thanks to people like Jodie Thomas, who is the president of the National Foundation of Women Legislators. Jodie, we are going to see a huge change.
Huge, absolutely.
Huge.
Chris, women are signing up in droves to run. I wish I had some hard numbers, but I would say it's in the thousands, easily in the thousands. We saw it in Virginia in the 2017 elections. I see organizations popping up literally daily to train women to run. There are organizations who are training women to just help other women run.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
It's fabulous. I heard some, okay, so let's look at the statistics.
Okay.
There are 19 mayors of 100 from the largest cities around the country.
Correct.
That are women.
Correct.
Okay. 24%
of
state legislators are women.
Mm-hmm.
19% of women in the House of Representatives, federal government,
correct,
are women. And the Senate is at 22%.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're 54% of the
correct.
National population.
Correct. Isn't
so
that
that's
awful?
abysmal.
It's awful.
It's awful.
But it's changing.
But it's changing. And I've heard statistics of thousands of women who are now registering themselves to run.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what you're hearing and seeing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We partner with the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers University, and they have a program that they do. And their executive director, Debbie Walsh, told me a couple of weeks ago that they are having to turn women away at their at their program because there are just so many. They can't have them all. My chair is a lovely young state representative in Montana, and for the second year in a row, she is hosting a training session for college-age women who just want to be involved in politics. They don't necessarily want to run, they might, but they got to have a voice.
Right.
They got to have a voice.
And I know you're a bipartisan organization,
Yes.
of course, and you have women on all sides.
Yes.
I've had other women, like I've had Ellie Schmiel on the show with president of Feminist Majority, and I know we've talked about the numbers that she's seen, which are remarkable, and the young people, which I find very encouraging.
Isn't that fabulous? The young people, and we saw that in...
we've seen that over the last... all the events we've seen lately.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Articulate.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean,
and,
just
the young women today are
amazing.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
And what do we attribute that? I mean, it's just, I guess there's so many factors into that, but I mean, are issues more exposed now? Are people just more energized? I mean,
yes.
I mean, look at the Me Too movement.
Yes.
You know, it's energized.
All of the above.
Yes, all of the above.
And something else, Chris, social media.
Yes, it's changed everything.
You know, you and I grew up with 3 television stations.
Right.
And now these young women are so wired in. They know everything that's going on and how to access it. And I also think they were never told. My grandfather told me the only degree I ever needed was an MRS.
Well,
these young women don't hear that nowadays.
No. Although I had a strong mother here in Montgomery County, and she told me go for the highest on education because you can never have that taken away from you.
That's right. That's right.
But you're right. You're right.
These young women are. They are not afraid of being activists.
Right.
And
let's say they're courageous. They're courageous.
They are
courageous.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid of losing. They're they're just amazing, and I'm thrilled. Now, our membership are already elected, but we have a lot of turn and pull.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of these elected women are very active in an organization that's training women to run.
Right.
And encouraging women to run. A lot of our ladies started out, our membership are elected women on the city, county, and state levels.
Right.
A lot of them started out the school board level.
Right. Which is not easy.
That's, oh Lord, no. And worked their way up. That's, women run for office because they see a need. And sometimes they'll talk to each other, you know, we really have to do something about, you know,
Right.
whatever elementary school and what's going on there. And finally somebody says, why don't you run? And that's how the majority of women get involved. They see a need, and they either are ready to try to fill it themselves and solve the problem, or they will recruit somebody.
Now, traditionally, though, we know you have to fundraise in politics. That's something, you know, that I think has been harder for women.
It has.
Maybe in previous generations, but certainly maybe in today's generation, it's not, because you can do things through social media. There are all kinds of new tools, you know, for fundraising.
It's a little easier. It is, but women are still a little more reluctant than men on the fundraising side. They also, and this is changing, they don't have that built-in network that a lot of men have had over the years. Right. Their clubs, their associations, you know, the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary
right.
and some of those.
Right.
But women are now
doing that.
They're involved.
Is that changed too, though? Do you see are they still there? These clubs are still active, of course, but
sure.
So women, you see more and more women joining. I know certainly for the Washington metropolitan area, many women have joined.
Absolutely.
These clubs, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great leadership training platform.
Almost every state that I know of now has a leadership.
Right.
You know, leadership Nebraska or leadership Illinois,
That's right.
And now the cities are having them.
Right.
Leadership Oklahoma City.
We have it here, of course. Right.
And so things are changing, and
now,
women are being
that's
included.
Fascinating. I love it. I love it. So in Maryland, Maryland being a very progressive state, we're seeing a lot of women coming out of Maryland, aren't we, in terms of running?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, for starters, Maryland ranks 10th out of all 50 states in the number of women they have in their state legislature.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's fabulous.
That's fabulous.
And I see a lot of Maryland women running for higher office. Angela Angel, who's a delegate, is running for Senate, for state Senate.
Right.
Right here in Montgomery County, Delegate Gutierrez is running for the Montgomery County Council. And her attitude is, why be one of, I don't remember how many is in the
council,
the state legislature,
right.
But why be one of 300 when I can be one of 9?
Right. And have a huge impact.
And have a, exactly.
I know the president of the Democratic Women's Club here is a Maryland, Montgomery County. I think she's running.
See, we all know somebody who's running.
Right.
And it's fabulous. And like I said, every day I talk to someone who says, well, I've decided to start a nonprofit to train African American women to run or whatever, you know.
What I have seen, which I have found fascinating, are Muslim American women and how they have organized, and they're a power to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
The women.
Absolutely. In 2016, Minnesota had their first woman, Muslim, elected to the State House. Young woman. She's just amazing.
Really?
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her in person, but from what I've read and what I hear, Yeah.
Just remarkable. Now, there's an Afghan-American woman running here in Maryland.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Diversity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hispanic,
Right.
Asian, yeah. And it's mostly the women.
It's mostly the way I love it. I mean, it's so it's the time, and it's.
It is.
I always say 2018 is the year of the woman.
I think so too. I think so too. And Chris, you see that in business every day.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I think all sectors of the United States are starting to see that. It's no longer considered odd to have a woman sitting at the table.
Well, we were talking about Pepsi Cola, and that there's a woman that's the CEO.
Amazing woman, Indra
And she's on your
Nooyi.
board, right? She's on your board.
Yeah, Pepsi's on our board, and she is just awesome and fearless.
Right.
Fearless, obviously fearless.
Fearless, right.
Yeah,
Right.
obviously fearless. And, some of these ladies, Chris, they're fearless in that they'll go up and introduce a bill and just because it's the right thing to do. And then, now women are naturally a little more
Risk-taking?
well,
In a
more
different-
willing to negotiate,
Right.
to
Absolutely.
compromise.
Compromise, yes.
And to say, I don't care what party you're in. This is a good bill, and if there's something in it that's really you just can't swallow, let's talk about taking it out. Because I'd rather have 80% of something than 100% of nothing.
Right. Absolutely.
And women do that.
They come. Absolutely.
And so I think we're already starting to see a little bit of a trend toward a little bit more civility,
Well,
which we
that
need.
would be nice.
Which
we need.
Oh my Lord, do we need it? And more of a willingness to compromise and be bipartisan. And the women in the U.S. Senate started that.
And they did. And they actually, I was going to, as you were speaking, I was thinking, I asked a U.S. Senator, a woman once, who are your best friends and who can, on the other side of the aisle?
Yeah.
She happens to be a Democrat. And she named a number of them. She said, I can really work with these people. They're great.
Yeah.
And I asked, it's interesting, I found that the women members
Yeah.
are
Well, they were
interesting.
having pizza one night during the shutdown in, was it 2013, I think? And just started talking about it and saying, well, what we really need to do is such and such and so and so. When they all were agreeing on all of this, and one of them took it to leadership, and next thing you know, they're all talking, and the government
they're
shutdown
all-
was over.
right,
And it
right.
started with
women.
bipartisan women in the Senate.
Always starts there. We're going to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll come back and talk about you and see how. I also want to know about how you got to this position
Okay.
of leading these 5,000 women across the country. So it's fascinating. You're watching The Next Word. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Wacha. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. You're watching The Next Word. And tonight we are having a conversation about women and running for office. Jodie Thomas, who is the president of the National Foundation of Women Legislators, is here. And we're talking about this is the year of the woman. And we're seeing women in record numbers. And I can't be more happy.
Me too, Chris. I'm so happy.
It's to where we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
We've had over the years several Year of the Women,
Right.
Year of the Woman. But I truly think this is going to be
It,
it.
yeah.
This
Yes,
could
it
be a
is.
game changer.
Oh, total game change. And because the issues too have driven it.
Yeah.
I do think the Me Too has really driven a lot of it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Every one of us has had stories.
Yeah.
Whether you're later in your career or earlier, you're just starting off your career. You know, I think it touches a lot of women.
Oh, I do too, and I'm thrilled to see younger women who are saying, "I'm not gonna stand for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, which is
I am not gonna stand for that." And you and I know. I mean, it goes on in this town.
yes, right,
It
all
just
the time.
does.
And also the parity issue, the economic parity issues. Yeah, there's just so many
Yeah.
issues that have now risen to a whole level
Uh-huh.
of awareness and of
Oh.
activism and of action and of
Yeah.
wanting to make a difference.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
translates into these women wanting to run.
Absolutely.
And you said it earlier in the show. You said, why be one of maybe 300 when you can be one of 9 on a city council
Exactly.
or a county council?
Exactly.
You still have that impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, your world can be global or your world can be the 10 square miles of your
Sure.
city. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right.
You can make an impact. Just get out there and do it. Try.
Right.
Try.
Right. Right.
It's amazing what some of these women have done.
Well, look, I was watching the women over the weekend, the young women, like the 11-year-old from Virginia that was speaking at the rally.
At the rally.
I mean, 11-year-old.
I know. I couldn't
And
have done
I
that
said-
at 11.
25 or 35. It was remarkable.
Absolutely.
Very articulate young people.
And isn't that thrilling?
Yes,
And, you know, we're starting to discover the downside of all of that social media,
we are.
too.
Yes, and there's a downside, of course. Yeah.
You know, so hopefully we'll land somewhere in the middle
Right.
and not lose some of those things that have helped women achieve this equality. Getting our word out.
Right.
You know, we used to, if, you know, the newspaper didn't want to cover something, they didn't cover it.
They didn't cover it right.
And if it
Now
was a
it's-
women's march, and
Right.
now they have to.
Right. And speaking of Women's March, of course, we have Women's History Month.
Yes,
And you have really wonderful programs.
we do.
In your leadership training.
Yes,
You
we
hold your
do.
annual conference coming up, what, in November?
In November.
In November. You have 5,000 right now members.
Right.
You'd love to double that, huh?
We
You never know.
We try to provide information and education to elected women at whatever the level they want. Not everybody can get away to come to our conference, one of our
Right,
conferences, but they can access something on our website. For example, we started a program this year to celebrate elected women in public office, celebrate women in public office. And we had 39 different either states or municipalities or whatever it was pass that proclamation. And from now on, in all those states or counties or whatever, March 19th is going to be
Oh, really?
celebrating Women in Public Office Day.
Wow.
And we're thrilled. So, I mean, we can keep that
And building
going.
out on it. What about like doing some town hall meetings?
Oh,
or,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All kinds of,
All kinds of things. We have Women's History Month is a big month for us, of
Yes,
course,
of
and
course.
we've got programs where we'll provide them with Iron Jawed Angels, which was a Hilary Swank movie about women's suffrage, and provide them with the movie and a template for an invitation to a movie party and talking points and things like that.
Right.
That we did a project with Google called Made with Code, where the movie Hidden Figures.
yes, which I love.
Yes. And Google provided us with a
Right.
link to that, and our ladies would invite young women to come. And at the end of it, we put together a little toolkit, and they taught these young women how to do code, how to do basic code.
Really?
Yeah,
Fascinating.
It was. So, you know, that's what elected women are out there doing.
Right. Which is wonderful
That's
what you've done.
what they're out there doing is They want to help their constituents learn something. We do a lot in workforce development because these elected women want to be able to say to that person in their office, have you looked at the training program that McDonald's has, or that the oil and gas industry has, or that, name one,
Right.
They've all got them. Samsung, everybody, and they want to be able to give that kind of information to their constituents.
You know, I'm trying to get Linda McMahon on, to come on the show.
Yeah.
Because, of course, she's administrator of the Small Business Administration. And, of course, I know they have a number of workforce training. Of course, empowering women to be entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
That's another growing, to me, entrepreneurial activity and being able to empower oneself through that.
And women starting
it's
their
starting
own
there.
businesses.
A lot of women are. It's remarkable what women.
It is. It is. Well, women are just remarkable, period. But when you talk about a lot of these ladies that are elected women on whatever level are also professionals. They have a job that, maybe they have to because they're a single mom. They still do carpool. They still do cook dinner. They still, et cetera, church. Because women are just made that way.
Right.
And it astounds me how many of them are willing to give up some of their family time or their business time
to
serve
participate
in
in this
office.
process, which is not an easy, as we all know. However, it's a very fulfilling one. And
but there are
again,
more
you
of
make an
them than
impact.
ever who are wanting to do it. Yay.
Yay. And as they say, all politics is local. And getting involved on that grassroots level, is something that
Oh,
I
absolutely.
encourage every woman to do.
Yes. Yes.
In whatever aspect.
Yeah. Not everybody wants to run for office or
No,
should
and,
run for
and
office.
should run. Yeah, it's
Not. I'm just never had any desire
You
whatsoever.
never had it, but you've been
No.
worked for politicians.
I have.
And so have I. Yes, and it's
Yeah. And
now,
it's
yeah,
fascinating, and and I did have an issue of kind of a bit of a sexist
yes,
issue and in the beginning of a campaign, and I just pretty much said,
bye-bye.
I'm the finance director and I should have a seat at the table. And the general consultant said, why? You're supposed to raise the money. You don't have anything to do with how it's spent.
But you raise, unbelievable. Did you walk away?
No, because the lovely, lovely, lovely congressman that I was working for said, Jodie needs to be part of the decision-making process.
So he stood up, great.
Yeah.
Well, I worked for someone who really supported women. He put he put women in his top professional positions at a,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, going back though to something, you mentioned the Hidden Figures, and I don't know if people have seen this show, but I was so moved by it. When you think, and I knew John Glenn, and I think the fact that, that he went up in space really based on the calculations, and he had the faith, and certainly the people at that time at NASA had the faith in those women to allow him to go up in space. It's remarkable. Don't you find that remarkable? I had no idea of that story.
No, I didn't either.
And there are probably hundreds of those kinds of stories.
Yeah, exactly. Hundreds of them. And Chris, it still goes on. There's still, I have a state senator in South Carolina, and in 2015, she was at a dinner, mixed company, and there were some libations. And one of her fellow senators turned to her and said, Katrina, if you were my wife, you'd be home barefoot and pregnant.
Jeez.
And she just sort of laughed, and everybody,
laughed.
And further into the evening, he said, the good book says that God made Eve from a rib of Adam. So does that make you a lesser cut of meat?
Oh, wow.
Well, there were reporters at this dinner. and reported on it. And oh my.
Is he in office?
He is,
Is he
but
still in office?
I think he's, got his ears about taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clipped.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that kind of a thing still goes on a little bit, but it's so
It still
rare.
goes on. Well, no, it goes
It's
on.
so
I'm sure.
rare. And, a younger man would never say that.
No,
Never say that. But, it does.
it does. Wow.
And the woman who became, her last name's Arden, Jadine Arden, I think, Prime Minister of New Zealand. When
Yes,
she
yes,
was
yes.
first elected, she was asked if she planned to get pregnant while she was in office. And she said, I think that's an inappropriate question.
Wow.
And the guy kept on saying, I don't think it's inappropriate at all.
Wow. You hear it all, but times have changed.
Yes, they have.
But we still have to
Yes,
move
they
it
have.
further up the scale.
Yes.
But that's why having more women in office
We'll do
will
it.
do it.
Yeah.
And
And, Chris, women, and you and I have talked about this before, women we're just different. Doesn't mean we're better or worse or whatever. We're different.
Right.
We approach things differently. And there need to be more of us in those elected offices leading differently.
Right.
Leading across the aisle, leading with civility.
Right. Right.
We do
With
leadership.
civility, right.
Yeah, we do leadership training, and part of that leadership training is civility, because
Which is critical.
we're leaders in. I'm not saying we all are prissy little ladies.
Right,
It should never,
right.
But we need that more than ever.
And respect.
The political environment out there is toxic.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
toxic.
Yes.
And we've got to do something about it.
And hopefully we're going to have a lot more women in the House, in the Senate, in the states, in the local governments,
Absolutely.
mayors
Absolutely.
for November of 2018.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yes.
I hope I have a great big new crop of newly
You know, I do
elected.
too. Yes, yes.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Wouldn't that be fun? You're going to have a good year.
I hope so. I hope so.
But Jodie, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do for women.
Thank you for having me on and letting me talk about how great these elected women are.
Oh, I know.
appreciate
I know. You all are at the forefront of the battle. So we're grateful.
it. Thanks.
Thanks. You've been watching The Next Word. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening. Good night.